shall be no more, and the morning breaks eternal, bright and fair, when the saved of earth shall gather over on the other shore, and the roll is called up.
My name is Pastor Benjamin Mwezi, and I'll be talking about the doctrine of the church, specifically the government of the church. So we see that after Jesus Christ ascended to heaven, now the role of leadership was now left with the apostles, meaning that the foundation that Jesus Christ had laid before he ascended to heaven, now the apostles were now to be the leaders of that foundation, of that movement that Jesus Christ had left behind. So now we get to see that their first organizational act was to elect someone in the place of Judas Iscariot, who had hanged himself after he betrayed Jesus Christ. That was their first organizational act. So now, as the church was growing in numbers, as the people were coming and growing in numbers, they saw that it was now almost impossible to lead the people with only 12 people. So it was now imperative that they had to elect another additional people so that they could help in this administrative leadership capacities. So they had to elect more so that they can make this this leadership thing easy and manageable. So now they elected 7 more members, in which one of them was Stephen and Phillips, who were known of their ability to preach and the ability, the commitment that they had for the gospel. That was one of the things that attracted the apostle to elect these other people, the 7 people that I'm talking about. They were elected looking on how interested they were, on how committed they were, and how capable they were. They were now elected to come and take care of the church of God. So now here, that's where we see the first government of the church now being established. It was after Jesus Christ has ascended, and now the church was growing. As we read through Acts chapter 1 all the way through to chapter 6, as the church was growing, they had to elect more people so that the gospel could be easily managed. So now that we have established the foundation of the government of the church, now it is also important to note. The principles that have to govern the government of the church. After the government is being established, of course there should be some principles that have to govern the government of the church. So we're going to talk about a few principles, in which one of them is that Jesus Christ should be the head. When we read through the Bible, we get to see and get to learn that authority was given to Jesus Christ both in heaven and in earth. So by that alone, Jesus Christ, by virtue, he should be the head of everything that we indulge ourselves in. So if we form a government, or if we form a leadership within the church, it is important that we have to know that Jesus Christ should be the head of that government. And the second principle that we're going to talk about is that Jesus Christ is the source of the authority. So now, of all the elected leaders in the government, one thing that should be noted, it is that the source of authority, it is from Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ, he is the one that gives the authority. So, for example, we know that Jesus Christ, is known to be, a loving God. He's known to be a gentle God. He's known to be the most generous God ever to be. So now, if you are a leader, you should exercise the same authority that Jesus Christ exercised, or the same authority that Jesus Christ, he is still exercising. You should be a loving person. You should be a generous person, because the one who gives you authority, he is like that. So the government of the church should also possess that authority from Jesus Christ. And the second principle that we are going to talk about is that the scripture carry Christ's authority. The scripture carry Christ's authority. So there is no how you can be in the government of God, or there's no how you can be a leader in the government that is set and ignore what the word is telling you. There is no how you can be a leader in the church of God, and yet you do not recognize the power of the Bible, or yet you do not recognize or acknowledge the power of the scriptures. So it is also important to note that the way we cherish the fact that there is God, the fact that Jesus Christ exists, it is the very same way we should cherish the scripture. If we deny the scripture, then our leadership is lacking, or our leadership is wanting. So that is also very important. And the second last but not the least, it is that the Christ authority it should be found in the church offices, or Christ authority with the church offices, meaning that if you are elected to be a church elder, you as a church elder alone personally, there should be Christ in you. And if you are elected to be a deacon, you as a deacon personally, there should be found Christ in you alone. So it is important that the people who are given these roles, or these leadership roles in the church, it is also important that Christ should be seen in them before they are given these responsibilities. It is also important to see the personal relationship of Christ with these people, or with the people that are given to take care of the church of God. These principles are very critical into making the government of the church. So as I've said, it is very, very important that we notice, that we know that in the leadership of the church, Christ should be the center of it. Christ should be the source of power in all leadership roles in the church of God. So for people who are questioning where do we get this issue that there should be church elders in the church, or there should be deacons, there should be treasurers, there should be this and that, we get this from the book of Acts. Because the leadership or the government, it plays a role of taking care of the people of God. It plays a role into managing and administering the gospel of God. So as I said, even though we are given that responsibility, even though God had given us that chance to be leaders, but the critical thing to note, it is that God, Jesus Christ, should be the center of everything that we do. If we are leaders and we are lacking Christ, then our leadership is wanting. Then our leadership should be changed immediately if it is noted that Christ is not found in us. It is very important that we take note of this. So, as I conclude this matter, the government plays a critical role into administering the gospel to the people. The government helps to manage the people who are coming to follow Christ. That does not mean that now, since we are now leaders, it is now our church as leaders. It does not mean those people who are given that responsibility to be leaders, it does not mean that the church belongs to them. No, they are just playing a role of helping and administering. As I said, they are just helping into directing the people of God. So, as I conclude again, I will say, in all leadership responsibilities, in all leadership roles, in all the governments that are set in all the churches, Christ should be the center. Christ should be the center of every government. Because if Christ is not the center, then the church is prone to fall. Then the church is prone to fall apart. Note that Jesus Christ should be the center. And it is important that we have the leadership of the church. It is important that leaders are to be in the church. And it is very important to know that as they are leaders, they should possess the character of God. They should possess the character of Jesus Christ in them. They should be the people who are decent. They should be people, whom when you look at them, you can really say, indeed, Christ, He.
Come thou fount of every blessing, tune my heart to sing thy grace. Streams of mercy never ceasing, call for songs of loudest praise. Teach me some melodious sonnet sung by flaming tongues above. Praise the mount I'm fixed